G'day mate, 40 here. So I'm back streaming with OBS from Australia. Very, very exciting to be back talking to you. And I want to talk about this new book by Sean Kelly. It's on Australia's Prime Minister, Scott Morrison. And I just need to make sure that everything's now working. So it's the first time I've used OBS here in Australia, and it looks like we are indeed streaming. How exciting. So there's this new book that came out November 1st about Australia's Prime Minister. It's called The Game, A Portrait of Scott Morrison. It's by Sean Kelly. He's a man of the left, and he's a former spokesman for Labour Party left-wing politicians here in Australia. So the book's very much from a left-wing perspective. It's thoughtful, it's a good read, and I think it's a good challenge for us. So here are some excerpts from this new book. In 2010, towards the end of the year when most politicians were already on holiday. So in Australia, pretty much everyone goes on holiday in December. So 50 asylum seekers died in a shipwreck. So they were trying to come illegally to Australia by boat, and 50 of them died in a shipwreck. All right, and the survivors of the wreck were detained on Christmas Island, which is about 1,200 miles from the shore of the mainland of Australia. But they asked that their dead family members be buried on the mainland of Australia. And the Labour government, meaning the left-wing government, agreed. And so Scott Morrison, who's now Australia's Prime Minister, was then the opposition immigration minister. So he wasn't in power, he was working for the opposition, the Conservative opposition. And he thought this was a bad idea, that these dead family members were buried on the mainland of Australia, and their relatives were flown to attend the funerals, and they were put up at government expense. So here's how the Canberra Times recounted this. Opposition immigration spokesman Scott Morrison told 2GB he believed Australians would be angry to learn that the government was paying for grieving families to fly from Christmas Island to the mainland to attend the funerals. Well, there's nothing in the Refugee Convention which covers this place and places an obligation on us, and I think people would be rightly angry about this. I think they'll want an explanation from the immigration minister in government. So, Talkback Radio from 2GB to Canberra's 666 ABC lit up with irate callers, and Scott Morrison repeated his criticism of the government paying for the funerals throughout the day of the funeral. Then that night, television bulletins carried heart-rending scenes of a woman screaming and collapsing in grief, and a bereft little boy who lost both parents and a brother in the tragedy, clinging to relatives for comfort. So the theme of today's show is, why has bad behavior skyrocketed? And I think the answer can be found in incentives. Whenever you incentivize something, you get a lot more of it. So you incentivize people coming to your country illegally, you're going to get a lot more of that kind of behavior. You incentivize people by paying for them to attend funerals. You put them up in hotels. Everything you do for people coming to your country illegally, every kindness that you show them is going to incentivize their bad behavior. All right. So on the one hand, it sounds noble, it sounds kind to do all these things for people who are here illegally, but what you're doing is incentivizing bad behavior. The more you incentivize bad behavior, the more bad behavior you get. The more you discourage bad behavior, all things being equal, ceteris paribus, the less bad behavior you get. So every kindness you show to people who are behaving badly all things being equal, you are likely to get more of that bad behavior. So why do we have this skyrocketing in crime? Why do we have this skyrocketing of bad behavior in schools? Why do we have this skyrocketing of traffic deaths and pedestrian deaths? Because bad behavior has been incentivized and certain groups have been declared sacred so that you're not allowed to criticize them. What happens when you take a group, you declare it sacred and says it should be immune from criticism? So I've got very posh friends who are far more successful in life than I am, and they're dedicated to their careers, and they're dedicated to fitting in with their peers. And let's see what we've got here. Elliott Blatt, what's going on, bro?
Blessing. Shalom. How are you, brother?
Shalom. It's great to talk to you. What's going on, man?
Oh, I'm on a good upswing, bro. I'm feeling good. Like yourself, it seems.
Yeah, is it the swimming in cold water?
Well, I haven't swam in cold water about 3 weeks now because it's now December and the water is quite cold. And I've sort of found this new passion in the interim to sort of get me through the cold weather months, which is juicing. I've been juicing a lot. Every day, in fact.
And what are you juicing?
Well, so basically there's 3 core ingredients, which are carrots, celery, and beets. Now, to which you can add any number of other things. Like parsley or cilantro or garlic or pears. Really the list is endless. But yeah, so I've been doing this. Really the list is endless. Now, as long as it's not fruit juice, all fruit, it's more or less you're kind of oversaturating yourself with vitamins, and it's all sort of nice fresh vegetables, very easily digested by your body. So I found like I have this incredible surfeit of energy from doing this, and I'm losing weight without really exercising, which is nice.
Wow, that's amazing. How long have you been doing this?
I started on Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So every day since Thanksgiving.
And how long did it take for you to notice an improvement?
By the 3rd day, I noticed, and this was a bit gross, but I was like sweating profusely, right?
Yeah.
But in a way that was really like cleansing. It felt like a lot of garbage was just being dissolved out of my body. It felt really, really good, but gross at the same time.
Yeah.
So, but I did feel like I just started feeling a lot more looseness in my shoulders. I felt like my body felt lighter and I had more flexibility and a lot more energy. And it just seemed like it was the correct path because I was getting very tangible results.
And how about the cold water swimming?
Well, I'm going to go back to it, but so you hear that cough that I frequently have?
Yes.
That's like a deep lung infection that I have. And I'm concerned about cold water swimming while still having that. I'm trying to see if I can actually get rid of this through my juicing protocol. So I'm giving myself until January to see if, with juicing every day, see if I can heal this up. Because it's something I've had for a long time. It's sort of like this low-grade lung infection that doesn't seem to want to heal. So, and it seems like cold water, like really cold water, which it's, the water's starting to be now, plus colder air, it just seems like too much risk for me to take. With a lung infection, I feel like I could be risking pneumonia or something. So I don't want to stir the pot too vigorously and tempt fate.
I remember before I left for Australia, I'd had the flu, and then I had a sore throat for like 2 or 3 weeks before I left for Australia. And then my first week in Australia, I still had the sore throat. And then one day I just woke up and it was gone. And I feel like swimming in the ocean like help me get over it. But I'm not recommending that for you, but that's just my experience.
So how frequently have you been swimming in Australia?
I'd say every other day.
Okay. And what's the water temperature in Fahrenheit?
It's about 67 degrees.
67. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's not excessively warm, nor is that excessively cold. It's probably what, a little bit cold when you get in, but you quickly adapt.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, how long do you stay in when you're in?
Oh, 20, 30 minutes.
Okay, so do you laps along the shore or something?
Yeah.
The
I body surf. So, man, there have been some incredible waves the last few days. I mean, scary waves. I mean, just like 3 times my height.
Oh yeah, once a wave is over 6 feet tall, it's a very deadly. It's a force you need to respect. You can really be worked over, and yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I kind of curl up and put my hands over my head because I don't want to break my neck. That's my
yeah, the
theory.
key is you don't resist. If you're
Mhm.
being tossed about, you don't resist. You just let it take you where it takes you, and don't inhale, don't swallow water.
Oh yeah, I've been swallowing water. And another thing I've noticed is I exercise on my stationary bike for years, but the exertion, I haven't done any swimming in 10 years.
Yeah.
And so I am out of breath really quickly, and I just can't
Yeah.
get enough breath. And so I have to go back to shore, catch my breath, and then go back out there. But much exertion, and I just don't have the breath. And then the waves start hitting you, like, wave every 5 seconds or so. And so a wave hits you, you go under, you come up, you get your breath, and then another wave comes, you have to go down under it, you can't get your breath, and then, they're smacking you around, and you come up. Oh, yeah, it's been quite challenging.
Yeah, you have to get out beyond the break. You have to.
Yeah.
You're in the danger zone. You're
Yeah.
at the border. You're at the Mexican border. You're at the Rio Grande of waves crashing. You need to get out beyond.
Yeah, when I get beyond the breakers, though, the lifeguards yell out and try to bring me back in. So,
oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah. On some days, not all days, but some days there's like a dangerous, I guess, riptide or current or dangerous things going on. So some days they try to bring you back in.
Well, like how big are these waves are you talking about here? Like
they're 2 to 3.
Plus?
They're 2 to 3 my height, so they're like 12 to 15. 12. Yeah,
No,
12 to 15.
they're not that
feet.
big.
Yeah.
That's you're risking your life in waves like that if you're not used to it. If it's over 6 feet, I don't go out. I don't go out if it's over 6 feet. Period.
Oh man, these are. Yeah, it's been really challenging. It just
waves that big,
smacks me around.
It's like a ton of bricks falling on you. One of those crashes on you. It's like a ton of bricks.
Oh, and they just spin you right round. You don't know. I don't know what side's up, what side's down, but they always end up smashing me against the ocean floor. And then I come up and like gasp for air, and then it keeps spinning me around, and so I'm like swallowing water, and coming back up, and then the next one is coming, and like dying.
Look, you're taking on way too much risk. Way too much risk for a man of your age, my dude.
I am
either swim out behind the waves or don't go out at all, because you're going to war each day if you do that, man. That's impressed. I'm very impressed, but I'm just saying you got to respect the forces. Like, you never turn your back on the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've been watching all these YouTube videos on ocean safety.
Yeah, and it's like going to an ATM machine in the ghetto. You don't turn your back.
I've had a lot of people tell me Luke doesn't respect the Australian Ocean, and so I've got things to learn, particularly when I'm this out of shape. No swimming for about 10 years, and so when I'm forced to swim fairly hard, I'm losing my breath, fairly quickly. So I have to get into shape.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. Yeah, I made my point. You understand the force.
Yes.
Don't be a hero. Don't be a hero, Luke. It's not worth it. Now, do
Yeah.
you feel like when you, after a swimming session, the night after, do you feel like you like just fall into a good sleep? Do you feel like just you sleep easily after a good swim?
I noticed some benefits in that direction, but there are also other things that I'm dealing with. I don't have my own room. I don't have my traditional mattress. I don't have my CPAP. Um,
Oh,
so I think I'm sleeping okay, fairly well, but there are also challenges. So I'm sometimes walking down 3 flights of stairs to go to the bathroom. So
3 flights of stairs. It sounds like you're well appointed. So you get some nice accommodations.
oh yeah, I've got a very nice place. Like I'm a kilometre from the beach. I'm in Sydney's eastern suburbs. I'm in some of Australia's most expensive real estate. So it's very nice. Now, how long have you had this lung infection, or I assume do you have a sore throat with it?
I don't have a sore throat. It's purely in the lungs and only in the lungs. Like,
Okay.
uh, I think I got it in 2014 when I was working in an office downtown. Recirculated air,
Yeah.
and it was like I got a severe flu that year, and it never. Like it took a long time to get over, and it never quite healed at a
Yeah.
deep level. I never went to a doctor about it. Maybe I should have in retrospect. So, yeah, it's been quite a long time now. It comes. It sort of. It sort of. It rolls in and rolls out like the tide, but it never quite disappears. So there's at times it's quite severe, other times it's barely noticeable.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 2000, yeah, it's been too long.
Yeah. No, I know other people who struggle with things like that. I mean, these things can hang on for months, months and months and
Yeah,
months.
but I'll tell you, it was when I started juicing. It was at a pretty high ebb, and it quickly receded. And I attribute that entirely to juicing. Like juicing garlic, I throw garlic in this juice, which has antibiotic, antiviral properties, and it's like your whole body just starts to burn when you do this. I wouldn't recommend this casually, but it's like you start being consumed by fire from within. And I don't know. It felt after that, I really felt good, but while it was going on, it was really quite irritating.
Hmm.
So,
What do you think about me moving to Sydney?
well, I'll tell you what. I thought of a story about myself in 2009, and like I basically. I had lived in California before, and I was living in Boston at the time. It was like summer. It was late summer. And I just looked up, I looked around, and I said, I just can't stand Boston. I'm in California. It was like a split decision. And then 10 days later, I was in California.
Yeah.
Like and I never looked back. I never had a second thought about it. I never doubted it. This is after 13 years of living in Boston and thinking Boston was the greatest place. So I understand these sort of sudden moves because it just feels right,
Yes.
And if it feels right and you have no doubts, even though from outward appearances it seems crazy, yet nevertheless you feel compelled to do it, it's probably the right thing for you.
Yeah, I just came here for a holiday, but then on my first morning walking by the Coogee Beach while I'm live streaming, I just felt like I want to move here. Just something shifted in my soul. It never occurred to me, but there just seems to be a high quality of life for me. There's virtually no crime here. Public transportation is a perfectly pleasant experience. It's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous, and and there's a great Jewish community here as well. And I've got a lot of friends. I grew up 2 hours from here, so I've got a lot of friends in Sydney, family in Sydney. So,
But didn't you feel really it seemed like you were pretty well entrenched in LA.
I
Like, it
was,
seems
and
like,
I am. I am.
yeah,
I've been 27 years. I'm happy in LA. Like I keep talking about how I love LA, and I
yeah,
do. But like when I walk around in LA, about half of LA's population doesn't speak English. Um,
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't feel that same sense of connection with strangers that I do in Sydney. There's like a safety in talking to strangers in Sydney where I had to be much more alert in Los Angeles. And beside that, half the people I couldn't even speak to.
Well, I'll tell you, the last time I was in LA a number of years ago, it just seemed like hell on earth. I couldn't imagine. Even the nice parts seemed terrible to me, right? I mean, but granted, I don't have really any context there, and I don't like hot weather. So, but yeah, but I feel like San Francisco's gone way downhill in the time that I've been here. Like in the past 2 years, it's basically fallen off a cliff. I mean, it was on a steady decline, and then the bottom just fell out in the past post COVID. So I have no inclination to leave, but if it's on its current trajectory continues, I may have to, which would be very sad for me.
So tell me more. How would you describe what's happened in San Francisco the last 2 years?
Um, well, there's various different threads, and they're all sort of intertwining. So, one thread is part of the charm of San Francisco used to be sort of the kind of art scene that was very active and vigorous and spontaneous and interesting, and there was it's hard to explain, but there was this just very vibrant creative atmosphere that sort of permeated all various neighborhoods in the city that were great, and that seems to have gone. It's been replaced slowly over time with the ascendancy of Silicon Valley. It's changed character where it's just sort of like a bedroom community for high earning people from tech firms, and they have a different vibration altogether that's not sort of in keeping with the bohemian character of San Francisco. So it's just simply about restaurants and rents, and property values. That's all everybody talks about, and that's really kind of boring.
What about crime? What's your experience of the rise in crime, or what have you noticed, if anything?
Well, I don't really experience it directly, but there are marketing, you get little sense, it's going on because there's all kinds of, there's signs around town, avoid smash and grabs, smash and grab awareness. There's all these tips to avoid, all these public service announcements telling you how to avoid being a victim of a smash and grab. This is relatively new. And then you have all of the stores kind of being really fortified with all kinds of security measures and security presence and like security guards with large firearms. It feels like a third world country in that respect, where like all the high value targets are protected by heavily fortified people, and it's just kind of an icky feeling. So I had a smash and grab for my car many years ago, and I've since never carried, allowed any value, just have any, when I say valuables, I mean anything of any value whatsoever, like quarters on my seat, visible to an external onlooker. So I haven't, fortunately, been a victim of crime in the recent years, but I've had bikes stolen several times, and that's pretty aggravating.
Oh, is the shopping experience different?
In slightly, like the armed guards. Having an armed guard at the entrance of a supermarket, it is a relatively new thing for an ostensibly first world supermarket. Or is that common in LA? I don't know.
No, I don't remember armed guards outside supermarkets, but I've been here in Australia for 3 weeks now, more than 3 weeks, and I'm reading on the news about just large scale thefts at very high end stores in San Francisco and Los Angeles, and I'm reading about stores that are closing down. So I think Walgreens is closing a bunch of branches in San Francisco. Have you noticed stores closing down?
Well, I did, but they've been closing steadily since COVID, so
Right.
I don't notice any additional. But yes, it's just weird. It's very weird to see a continuous streak of closed stores, of boarded up storefronts. Occasionally it'd be the one and the odd, but there'd be a streak of 2, 3, 4 in a row. That just is utterly unprecedented. Now, how much we attribute that to COVID, how much we attribute that to, the recent smash and grab phenomenon, who knows? But it's not good. And people notice, they talk about it online, but they're still very much, as far as I can tell, committed to their left-wing politics, nonetheless. They seem to be able to find excuses that conform to their worldview rather than kind of address the problem more objectively.
And how's the homeless situation in San Francisco?
It's getting worse, but the news makes it seem different than it actually is, right? It's pretty constant. I mean, the real grotesque examples that you see in the news are relatively concentrated in a narrow set of blocks. So it's not like I'm dealing with that on a day-to-day basis, It is bad and getting worse, but it's not a day-to-day experience of mine, if that makes any sense.
Okay, and what about public transport? What's that like in the Bay Area?
Well, I wouldn't get on it if you paid me.
Why?
Okay, because there's basically two populations that use public transport.
Blacks and Latinos.
No. Elderly Chinese and insane people.
Really?
Really? Okay. Yes. Yeah. I don't see many of the favorite protected minority on public transport. It's not cool enough, I'm afraid.
And what's going on in the background? Are you making dinner?
I am making dinner. I'm roasting some vegetables. Sorry.
No worries. And
okay, one hand on the phone, one hand on the old roasting pan, as it were.
Okay, and what kind of vegetables are you roasting, and what are you going to do with them?
This is potatoes and carrots.
Okay.
So these are some non-juiced vegetables. So do you have a juicer at your place?
No.
No.
I used to buy it from Amazon, that like fresh green juice, no fruit juice.
Forget about Amazon. Forget about jars, plastic. It has to be like boom, fresh, minutes old to truly be a juice. The difference is night and day.
How long does it take you to clean it up?
It is a pain. You have to. It's miserable. It's totally miserable, but it's totally worth it. It's totally worth it. If you really want to soar with the eagles, Luke, you have to pay your dues. I've got it down to a science, though. I've got a certain rhythm, a certain method. You need a well-functioning kitchen, for one thing. Got to get your kitchen well organized, which I know you're not really into, so I'm barking up the wrong tree here. I understand.
And are you a fairly good cook?
I'm competent. I'm not saying I'm good, but I can cook. Let's put it that way. I can cook.
So are you vaccinated yet?
No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm ready to get Omicron. I'm going to get over it. It'll be a bad weekend, and I'll be immune from this, and this will all be behind us, Luke. This is all way overhyped, my dude.
And how do you anything changed in your feelings about the future of America over the past month?
Well, I'm actually a little bit bullish. I'm a little bit bullish on America because I do sense a backlash coming electorally, and it could be pretty profound. Actually, it could be a drastic one. And if that happens, I think there's seeds of a good, I wouldn't say there could be a nice few years. I think our side will be on the offense for a couple of years anyway.
And who do you think is doing a particularly good job for our side these days?
I'm liking what I hear out of DeSantis, but I've not been like hyper focused on politics necessarily. But I like every note I hear of DeSantis. I like, and I've sort of gained a lot of affection for Rand Paul. So I think it's between those two that are going to sort of. I don't think Trump is going to run again. Do you?
I do, but
you do
health permitting. So he'll be what? He'll be 80 years of age, 82 by 2024. So
yeah, I just think that's just too old, and I just can't see an 80-year-old man being up for a fight like that. I don't know. It just seems very strange to me that 80 seems incredibly old to me. Am I wrong?
I'm not sure.
I mean, I feel I don't have enough energy to run for president, right?
Right.
And like, I just can't imagine like an 80-year-old. And I don't think Trump's in the greatest of health. I mean, he does seem to be carrying a bit too much weight. And I mean, I know you think differently, but I think Biden is a complete disaster. I think he's falling apart in front of our eyes. And what is he, 79?
Yeah, about that.
So, I don't know. Do you think a president of the most powerful country in the world at 80 years old? Most people are like deep into bingo territory at 80, you know?
You know what's huge here in Australia is lawn bowls. Like all the oldies are playing lawn bowls. And I mean, even some of the youngies are playing lawn bowls.
Yeah.
So I don't remember that. Oh yeah, I think I saw it in Beverly Hills. But how prevalent is lawn bowls in California? Do you...
Well, there is lawn, not lawn, right? You're saying lawn, right? There's a lawn bowling pitch, or whatever it's called, court in Golden Gate Park. And I actually tried playing it once. It's just it was insipid. It was terrible. It was a boring game. But I can see why old people would like it. You know, it's kind of like golf, but it requires no coordination whatsoever. You know, you like throw one ball and you try to get to it as close to the ball without hitting it, I think.
Yeah.
And, you know, you wear like a little cotton sun outfit with a nice little cotton hat. And, you know, you look sporting. It's a ridiculous game, but it's great. I can see why it's great for old people. Yeah.
And what about croquet? Do they play croquet in California?
No. Well, I think it's just kind of like a picnic kind of game.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, do you enjoy croquet, Luke?
No, I haven't played it, but I did go. They call it 10-pin bowling. So in America, I think we just call it bowling. I went 10-pin bowling last Monday night. I couldn't believe how sore I was in my legs because I'm 55 now. So all sorts of new activities, I just get like really sore. But it was fun because I was doing it with like 50 other Jews.
Yeah, it's much better with juice. I agree. Did you find it harder than you imagined?
Yes, because all my balls kept, not all of them, but half of them kept tailing off to the right. And
gutter ball? Did you hit a few gutter balls?
A lot of gutter balls, but even when they didn't go in the gutter, they would just always tail off to the right. So
right.
Someone pointed out that there are arrows very early in the lane. And if I just aimed at the arrows instead of aiming at the 10 pins, I started doing much better. So my first game was 92. Then my next game was 142, and then my final game was about 192. So I got much better as I went along.
192 is actually a pretty decent score for a newbie. Yeah.
Yeah.
A perfect score is 300, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there are lanes out here. You know, I didn't like it enough to go do it again or sort of do it on my own volition. But yeah, I could see it's a fun, like, it was in the context of a Christmas party that I went bowling.
I mean, I'd only do it in company. Like, I'd do anything in good company, pretty much. So bowling doesn't mean anything to me in and of itself. But when you do things with Jews, like Jews are a lively, emotional, outgoing, funny group of people. So it was really fun to just to hang out with them and to get to know people in the community, because I'm seriously thinking of moving here. I want to find ways to make money here. So
now, would you do you have any particular industries or any particular jobs that you're interested that you could do in Australia?
Yeah, I do. I've been making up a couple of different resumes. I wanted to find a space to resume my Alexander technique practice, and I've got a few other directions that I'm looking to explore. I won't get into more detail publicly about them, but yeah, I've got several ways of making money that I want to explore, and I just really want to just meet people and connect with people, and it's the feeling of mateship and just the high level of social trust and cohesion, and the mateship that's so easily available in Australia. Australia is much more sexually segregated than any other country of which I'm aware. Blokes hang out with blokes, Sheilas hang out with Sheilas.
We'll come back to that in a second, but one thing I just want to throw out there. I once met this woman, and she worked for a mining company in Australia, and she said it was the best thing ever. like out there on the mines and so forth. She said all the people were funny and they're rugged and there's good humor. And so it's sort of been this sort of fantasy sort of career of mine is to be a miner in Australia, like driving, does that appeal to you at all? Like working outside and getting fit and driving a forklift and stuff? Would
possibly.
You consider that?
There's really good money in that in Australia. Like tradies, people working in construction and the natural resources boom, they just have more work than they can handle right now. So, have you been to Australia?
No. I'd like to go. It's quite a flight, though, my dude, as you know.
Yeah, I've come here to make a place for you, so that where I am, you may be also. In my father's house, there are many mansions.
Hey, would you stay in Sydney, or do you have other options? Like, I know you're going to another city, right?
I've got other options, but I love Sydney. Like, Sydney is a very lively town. It's the biggest town in Australia. It has amazing beaches. It's beautiful. The weather's good. And I know a lot of people here. And it's 90 minutes drive from where I grew up.
How far is Sydney from Melbourne?
About 8 hours drive.
Oh, it's that far.
Yeah.
Okay. So I thought all the intellectuals went to Melbourne, not Sydney.
Maybe,
Sydney was sort of like the New York, whereas Melbourne was the Boston or San Francisco.
Yes. That's right.
So you're more of a New York, LA type, not a Boston, San Francisco.
Yeah, so Melbourne is more European. It's more traditional. Melbourne was settled by settlers rather than by convicts. So Sydney is more brash and more in your face and more about making money.
Okay. So they're very frank about money the way they are in New York, whereas it's like tut-tut, it's not discussed in Boston.
Yeah. So there would be... It's like maybe an LA versus San Francisco difference. So in LA, people don't mind flashing their money, but in San Francisco, people tend to play it down. So I think there's an LA San Francisco difference or a New York Boston difference.
Okay, so you're staying true to your type, but even when you change, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. It's funny. I met Jim Bowden, who's a regular in the chat, and
Yeah.
Jim's been quite a troll over the years. And once he was so trollish that I even banned him. And he emailed me and we sorted it out. Well, I get here, he picks me up from the airport. He takes me
Yeah.
back to his place. Uh,
Yeah.
like serves up like two delicious mangoes. Just delicious. He's got a lovely family. He's got a lovely home. Like we hanging out. Like he drives me around Sydney. He's been the perfect host. And Jim says that now that he's gotten to know me in person, he just can't troll me anymore. And I think there's something to that. Like once you get to know people, it does
Yeah.
make it more difficult to troll them.
Yeah, I think I've wrestled my inner troll to the ground. I think I think as fun as it is and as fun as it can be, I don't think it's nothing you want to become. You don't want to have that become your identity. Like it's not positive ultimately.
Yeah.
So
it takes over people's lives. Like I've seen it have a really bad effect on a lot of people.
Yeah.
I've seen people get fired from fairly prestigious positions. I've seen it warp people's personalities. Social media is dangerous in that you have all these people that you like until you start to read their thoughts, and then you realize that half the people that you thought you liked you now hate.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, is that license to sort of it gives you that license to be a little extra barbed, more so than you would be in public. And once that bell has been rung, you can't unring it. And I don't know. Even though I feel like I was right, I do feel. There are people that I can't talk to anymore, or who I've either blocked or they've blocked me, and I'm looking back, and I'm looking back to like late 2015. And I'm like, what a weird journey this has been. Because I never knew any of this stuff existed in late 2015, and then suddenly, it's basically been my entire life for the past 6 years. It's just bizarre that I look back and there's just this trail of ruin behind me. So I don't know. I'm keeping. So basically, I'm on a what's it called? I'm on a dopamine fast.
Oh wow.
I'm trying to limit my online activity. Really work on my various disciplines, and just sort of not reflexively go to the internet. I treat internet like I used to treat television, and have a more cautious, have a more respect for it. And it's amazing. Like when I was growing up, I lived in the country growing up, and we had 3 television channels. 2 of them came in fine, and one of them was really squirrely. Right, so basically 2.5 channels.
Yeah.
And that was that, and now it's a complete banquet of multimedia entertainment. And it's like, how do you, the only problem is like discerning which to consume and which not to, and you can really just, I think, piss away a lot of hours that could be better applied to cultivating some discipline or another.
Yeah. It can be an escape, and it can be a distraction, and it can be even worse than that. But have you noticed yourself ever taking your online trolling and then it having an effect on how you speak and operate in daily life?
Probably. With close friends, I've become more frank, and I think that's actually helped our relationship because, there's enough trust to withstand sort of base takes, shall we say. than there is among strangers. But with among strangers or work acquaintances, I'm actually much more guarded.
Yeah.
It's made me because I know where the fault lines are. I mean, that's one sort of benefit that this online stuff has told me. It sort of showed me where the ideological divides are and why they exist, and where the toes are to be stepped on and how not to step on them. So it's mixed.
Yeah, I've offended a lot of people online who were previously friendly, positively disposed towards me, and now I'm back in Sydney and uh, meeting up with people who've blocked me on Facebook.
Yeah, I know. I was shocked. I never thought I would be blocked on Facebook, and I was really hurt by it. And it seems like trivial, but at the same time, I was angry at myself. I was angry at them. And it's sort of like once that cord's cut, you can't talk to them again. It's this weird thing where it's really a Rubicon.
Yeah,
No
well, we're
back.
just not mentioning it. So that's what we're doing. We're just ignoring it.
Well, these people that block me, I haven't met in person yet. But it seems to me the people that don't block you are the people that were truly your friends. It's a sort of filtering mechanism. Like, I really know who my friends are now.
Yeah, but all of our friends are situational. Like all of our friends, like even our best friends, there would be situations that would put considerable strain. So I hear that argument all the time, and I'm skeptical of it. Like I don't think we ever truly know who our friends are because we change in different circumstances, and our friends change, and then the situations in which we interact change, and so I don't think there's a true self, and I don't think there's. I'm kind of skeptical of this notion of true friends.
Yeah, in a certain way, you're right. I mean, a true friend is someone like, if your interests are aligned,
Yeah,
you're friends.
yeah,
As soon as your interests diverge,
yeah.
you're really not friends anymore. It's a fiction that you've created uh, in your head. And then I don't know. That's what Facebook's done. It's made friendships a lot. It's made the word friendship have a lot less weight than it used to. There's a non, they become easily severable, and they're just a lot less deep. So, like, for instance, my boss, like I'm quote unquote Facebook friends with my boss, but he's blocked. I exclude her from all my Facebook posts just in case.
Yeah.
I don't want anything traceable back to me. I don't want her seeing anything that, because our politics are thoroughly divergent,
Yeah.
and I just don't want to muddy the waters. I just don't want that layer of static. When you're talking about how you feed yourself.
Now, there are also tremendous advantages because like Jim Bowden, I met him through doing these YouTube shows, and he's picked me up and taken me around. There are other people that I've only known online who I'm now meeting in person in Sydney. So you can also meet people and add to your friendships through online activities.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I find like my list of in-person friends in the city is like diminishing every 3 months. Someone's gone. It's like this narrowing pool, and which doesn't pertain to what you just said. So, but is that really the goal? I think it's like, what does it mean to acquire new friends? You want more and more friends, and it's not like being in school when having lots of friends meant meant your social life. It meant all kinds of things. Friends as adults is just a different thing.
Okay, well, I mean, I think it's in our self-interest to have as good a relations as possible with everyone that we interact with. So I went to a synagogue here in Sydney where they were celebrating a forthcoming wedding, and the couple who were getting married and their family were not members of the synagogue, but the groom wanted to have the celebration at this particular synagogue because when he walked into this synagogue 5 years previously, like the rabbi interrupted the service and said, remembered his name and, remembered who he was and like said, hey, Ben, it's great to see you again. And so when I see people who are able to show caring and concern and interest in so many other people and see then the energy that they get from that, because they have all these positive interactions with other people and then all the opportunities that come from that. And then I was talking to one Jew. I said, why do you go to this particular synagogue? And he said, well, because the rabbi, completely unbidden, he flew to a town where my father was being buried. I didn't ask this rabbi to do this. He just did it because he just wanted to be there for me. So when I see the energy and the strength and the enthusiasm and the joy and the happiness that I frequently see in synagogue here in Sydney, the places that I've been, I see the power that comes from having good relations with a lot of people. So it's a very powerful thing to walk into a room and have people glad to see you.
That's all true. It sounds true to me. But there's a flip side to that coin, which is, do you feel constrained by this
Yes, of course.
And is the price worth paying? Like, remember, okay, I'm thinking particularly, you've seen, I'm sure, Curb Your Enthusiasm, right?
Yes.
You've seen the whole trilogy, right?
Yes.
So you remember that particular, you remember that episode where Larry's fictional mother dies? And this turns out to be a blessing for him because it just spares him from having to attend all these various social commitments. Do you remember this?
Yeah, vaguely.
And he's like, yeah, my mom died. He can't contain his laughter because it just means that, he's got an excuse not to go to these events. Like, these events become pro forma. They become expected, right? And pretty soon you just feel like a mannequin being not a mannequin. What's the puppet?
You feel like a puppet.
You feel like a puppet being played by other people, always pulling. There's never a minute to yourself, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's probably a character flaw of mine, but I just, as soon as I got out of the house, I just relished. I was so happy not to have to go to all these stupid things that people were doing, and because grandma was sick, because so and so was graduating, all these different things, all these obligations, just were absolutely suffocating after a while. And you don't know who you are. I didn't feel like I knew who I was. I just felt like this puppet that needed to attend these various functions and do these things and be there and say the right words. And it just got so sickening to me after a while.
Yeah, I think what you're touching your finger on is that the successful, mature person is able to interact and have a lot of people in his life without turning into a puppet. The mature person says no to events that they don't want to attend, says no to things that they don't want to do, but doesn't blow up relationships unnecessarily. So I think there are ways to stay connected and be on positive terms with a large number of people without then becoming a prisoner of that large number of people.
That's right. And that's certainly a domain in life which I've completely failed. I am not one of those people. I feel I get so angry, and I feel like soon as I'm excused from one of these events, I just feel like I've been set free from jail. I can breathe and just feel my feelings again, and I'm so happy to be done with those things. You must have had that experience, Luke, where you're stuck at some stupid dinner, and it's just people you sort of vaguely know and you vaguely care about, but you're sort of got to put up the appearance that you care about them really a lot, and you're glad that you're there, and you're really, and it just seems like to be an artifice, so much artifice that the pressure becomes too much to bear.
Well, I've fallen off on one side of this continuum. So on one side of the continuum is that you're a prisoner to other people's desires. Then the other side of the continuum is you just do your own thing, and to whatever extent other people can hang with that, that's great. And so I'm much more the latter. I pretty much live my life doing my own thing, and to the extent that other people can hang with that's great. But I admire the people who are able to be like jaw-droppingly, breathtakingly honest. I noticed this with a lot of Jews in my life who will say to an event like, "There's no effing way I want to go to that." They're just like so forthright, but they're able to carry it off in a way that doesn't unnecessarily antagonize people. And I just know what, like, a sense of relief and admiration I feel when someone is just forthright about, no, I don't want to do this. But they're able to do it in a way that doesn't make you hate them. It just makes me love them. It's like, wow, I admire how honest this person is.
It is a skill, and I've seen that done, and I think I vaguely understand what you're referring to. And yes, those people are admirable, but it's a skill set I don't have. And then, it sort of goes to my upbringing. But and I'll tell you a story. Like, about 4 or 5 years ago, I had a friend, a neighbor, remote connection, and he was a professor, assistant professor of Jewish studies at Stanford, which is down the road from San Francisco. And so it was a Thanksgiving dinner, and I was dragged there. I was invited there, and I just couldn't. I really didn't want to go. But I finally just relented, just because I felt it was best for all concerned if I went along, and I went along, so I did. And then it was like, you leave at noon, you drive down, you get there, it's 1 p.m, dinner goes on, and it's like, one thing after another, and it's all this family stuff with people who aren't really your family, and it's just awkward and painful. And it came time, so it was like university housing, so it was a real small little apartment, and we're all sort of crammed in there, and we're crammed around this table, kind of cheek to jowl, really just stuffed, like 10 people on a table meant for 6, and dessert was served and pie was served. So there was pie with ice cream, and everyone got their pie, and I was seated next to this old grandma woman with, like, bifocals around her, dangling around her neck on a little chain and so forth. And I'm just making the chit chat and all these pleasantries and so forth. And we're so tightly packed. I was just sort of eating the pie unconsciously. And I just accidentally ate her pie. After she'd eaten some of it, then I ate some of it, and I just thoroughly grossed out by it. And then I just got so internally enraged and grossed out by this whole situation that I never wanted to be in, And it was like, that typifies to me, like, these forced social interactions. That situation is like eating someone else's disgusting pie. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, I hear you. So are you going on Claire Core's Millennial? What's you doing?
Tomorrow at 11. Tomorrow I'm getting, this is all my good material that I'm giving to you, Luke.
Oh, bro.
Tomorrow, 11 a.m. Pacific, bro. You got to be there. So we'll have our chat, and we'll see what comes of it. I'm sure you'll be tuning in, Luke.
Absolutely. That'll be one day I'm not going to the beach.
That's right. It's appointment viewing. So I don't know. We always have a good chat, I think. So, but the regulars, all the like, I guess Brundle was on. I haven't seen his show yet, but I saw it come through. But all of the Luke Ford originals have been on. It's like she's been mopping up your cast-offs, it seems.
Wait, Brundle's going on Claire Core's show, or Brundle's
I think
been streaming?
He was. I think he already has been. I haven't heard it yet, but I think it was impromptu. I don't think it was planned. I think he just called in.
Oh, wow. And what about Millennial Woes? What is he doing these days? Do you have any idea?
Well, I've heard through on other streams that it's going to be kind of action packed. All of the big names that we all know are going to be appearing. Apparently, Jared Taylor, Greg Johnson, some other. I hear it's going to be a big one. But I don't know if it's on YouTube. I think, is he being kicked off YouTube?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yes.
Okay, so it's gonna be on one of the new platforms apparently. But I'll listen to that. I'll listen to some of them. I mean, I'm in a different space. I'm confused politically. I don't know what to think anymore. I mean, but I like the people involved,
Yeah. And let's say hello to Dooovid. Dooovid, how are you, sir?
Baruch Hashem, Shavua Tov, good to see you.
Good to see you. Dude. What's going on, David?
Baruch Hashem, I just saw your invite. Church of Entropy is about to be a modern day debate with the flat Earth. Became a little bit of a booking agent. I was on Adam Green the other day. Claire Call was just on Politically Provoked that I helped set up, and Adam Green's going to be on Monday. I had on my channel this guy, Mark Reed, with Church of Entropy Thursday from Australia. He's going to be her debate partner on Modern Day Debate coming up. So not big numbers in the streaming, but staying a little active. I just broke over 2,000 subs.
Oh, cool.
That's impressive, Dooovid. You're everywhere, Dooovid. I've noticed you really spread your wings in various directions. It's very impressive.
Yeah, maybe topic expert. Not getting big numbers, but within the Judaism, small level topic. I think I've become a internationally recognized expert. Thanks to Luke Ford.
So are you on speed dial with Roseanne Barr?
No, I fell out with Lo Gallon. I interrupted him on one of his streams. And he was my connection to Roseanne. I didn't keep her contact information, although her numbers aren't that great anymore. It could be I could reach out and maybe she would join the stream. I don't know, but unfortunately, Lo Gallon was tough to work with, so I haven't been in contact with him for months.
And so, what else have you been doing lately, David?
Just research my eBay business. Thank God I got a big load of CDs in, so I've been selling books. I'm almost over 2,000 positive reviews. So nothing much laying low. I've still remained unvaccinated. I'm a little hesitant, so I hardly go anywhere. When I do, I mask up. So a lot of reading, a lot of research.
And what about Partners in Torah, Charles Moskowitz? Have you been doing that show?
Yeah, we've stayed pretty steady for almost every Thursday. In fact, he's slowly getting better with his tech. He had on Jay Dyer last week, and our numbers are decent. We get about 100 views, each week, and so we stuck doing it. And he's got kind of like on the minor outskirts of like the neocon, maybe even Alex Jones type crowd. So he gets some interviews, we get some names, but it hasn't really taken off and went anywhere. But it's kept the base. So like Brundlefly, half Galician, some of your old viewers tune into that. So I would say from the Charles Moskowitz crowd, the people that were more into the neocon or Jewish view on conservative politics, that we've retained maybe tens of your viewers in the Charles Moskowitz audience.
Okay, and have you gone on other shows aside from Charles Moskowitz?
Well, Politically Provoked, Ralph in London, Germany, this woman Zobita, are you familiar with Speaker's Corner? I guess you're in Anglo
Yes.
Hyde Park.
Yes.
So I started speaking with this guy Ralph, who's like a mixed-blooded right-wing activist in London, a computer programmer, and through him I've spoken with quite a network of British right-wing activists. This Muslim woman Zobita. I was on Friday on this guy Chris, who has got a patriotic front or something. I think he's part of Mark Colett's group, and he saw me talking to Ralph and asked me to speak to his group. And it was kind of like old school alt-right, but these guys were all British, and they were asking me like about Matsitsa Balpe, multiculturalism, British Israelism. So I enjoy that stuff, and also this Muslim channel. So it was just like hours and hours of kind of counter-Semitic type people just pounding one question after the next. So I kind of enjoy that.
And did you go on Ethan Ralph's show? Did you say that you went on Ethan Ralph?
No, I said that I watched it a handful of times. Like Judas Maccabeus got on there, and then he bailed. Like he was going to have him on as a regular, and for whatever reason, he decided he couldn't do that. But this week I watched because Brittany from Politically Provoked was on, and I forget. I think it was that episode or later they were mentioning you, and so he said that he's got to have Luke Ford on again. And he was talking, I mean, God forbid, he was talking about himself, God forbid, trying to put out another porn video. So he was speaking with you in specific reference to your expertise on pornography in terms of wanting to get you back on the show. And I was just watching that. I had no connection. I've never spoken to him. It could be he's never heard of me.
And did Judas Maccabeus have some kind of falling out with Ethan Ralph?
I think whatever reason he just decided that he didn't want to do it, and although he was on Ed Dutton like a month ago, but his tech was so bad, his internet connection kept on fading out. But I think Ethan Ralph wanted to do JQ Bloodsports, and he was going to use Judas Maccabeus, and like I think Adam Green he wanted to promote me a little bit for that, and I told him like I'm just a half Jew, I know a lot, like what the books say about the culture, more an independent scholar. But I said, so I was the one that handed him Judas Maccabeus because like this guy's an official IDF rabbi. But for whatever reason, he backed out. He didn't want to do it. Your channel too. I guess he was supposed to appear in your channel again and again. Whatever reason, he decided he didn't want to do it. But he didn't share with me his reasons. I doubt he shared with you his reasons either.
And are you doing a show with Adam Green, or have you done a show with Adam Green recently? Just
this last Thursday. I hadn't been on. I Twitter messaged him. We have like a kind of frenemy type relation where we argue about Judaism here and there, so he was like, come on again. So I was on this last Thursday. And he said he's going to have me on again the following Thursday because he had to cut it off after an hour. And, there's a lot to cover because he went more into the historical Jesus. So he's trying to promote, he's moved less from, pure counter-Semitism, like Chabad, too much Jewish influence in American society, to Christianity, as a false religion, historical Jesus. And he's had Christopher Van Jorkness on like many times. That's become one of his most recurrent guests. And so now he's basically promoting Christianity as a Jewish psyop in terms of like a historical Jesus perspective of the origins and rise of Christianity. So I guess I'm his debate opponent where I'm defending some sort of Jewish position where, not that Christianity is a friend of Judaism, but for whatever reason that God rose up Christianity as a false religion, but it's still the God of the Jews for whatever reason that did that. And then the Kabbalistic understanding that not Jesus, but the church got taken over by the descendants of Esav, that a lot of the Jewish scholars, over the last 1,000 years have generally seen that the biblical prophecies referring to Esav in reference to the church at large, the Catholic Church, or the North that he talks about from a conspiracy theory. So I've been defending that from more pure Judaic view of just our understanding of how God manifests in history.
And what's been going on with your Judaism? Anything that you've been studying?
No, I gave up on Daf Yomi because, because I stopped going to Minyan even on Sabbath. It started getting cold. They stopped having outdoor Minyan, and I didn't want to get the vaccination. So, that was the main reason I get the vaccination, so I could go to shul. But you can't even go to shul without a vaccination these days. So without the actual community, my Torah studying has fallen a little bit. I still read biographies before I go to sleep every night. I usually read biographies about the Gedolim, like the mainstream Litfish, Gedolim, like art school books or other books. And I'll study a little Torah. I keep up, I pray every morning. I say Kriya Shema, do the basic mitzvahs, still keeping kosher relatively. I sometimes will have vegetarian stuff without a hechsher. But because of COVID-19, I really just fell out with the community. We talked about that a few times, where I saw that I'm not really that much part of the community. I would go to events, I maybe helped out the community, I would do things. Like Hanukkah, the rabbis still called me to help out with the ceremonies. I posted on my YouTube. But COVID-19 kind of showed me that I'm not really that much. I'm not an integral part of their community. So it's tougher to stay strong and learn Torah, on your own, as opposed to the strong community connection that we've talked about many times. I don't know if you've had the same issue. I guess maybe you're thinking of going back to Australia, or is that already on your I mean, is it done, or are you still, you don't know, you still have an apartment in LA, or could go either way? Yeah, I was thinking about that because, Week in Review, we mentioned that, and it'd be tough. In fact, Rodney messaged me on Twitter randomly, and so we were talking about that also. Just what would it be like? How would you fit into an Orthodox community in Sydney? And then in ultimate reality, as an older unmarried person, what do you really have to go back to? So you might have some friends, you might have community, a shul, but to some extent, there's really no place for old bachelors in Orthodox Judaism. I don't know if that, and I was joking also, not even a joke, my read on you, that maybe you were trying to feel, test your friends, or test how much people really liked you or wanted you around, and kind of just play if you're in Australia, so how close are your friends, your connection in LA, how much do they really want you back there?
Yeah, that's an interesting theory. I mean, I am seeing friends. I'm meeting people who I've only known online. There are people that I grew up with who I'm reconnecting with, and I'm trying to keep all options open. But at this point, it does look like I'm going to move to Sydney. But I've got a few weeks before I need to make a decision. So, right now I still have a place in Los Angeles, but I don't want to keep paying rent on it if I'm not going to live there. So.
I guess as a convert, you would probably have to, clear your local rabbinic court. I mean, if you show up to Chabad or something, they would probably get in touch with the Sydney Orthodox Rabbinic Court, and those rabbis would probably contact the rabbis from LA. And if they gave you the okay, the rabbis in Sydney would probably give you the okay, but that would be my estimation of how that would work. I don't know if you showed up to your local Chabad, or if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, I showed up to synagogues, and pretty much any time you go to a synagogue outside the United States, you need to pre-register. And even increasingly in the United States, you need to pre-register. So you submit...
Because of security.
Yeah, because of security. So you submit photo ID, and in the age of COVID, you need to produce proof of vaccination. And I would also throw in my conversion certificate and just basic information about me. And everyone knows someone else in Jewish life. So plenty of the people I've met here in Sydney, they know people that I daven with or study Torah with in Los Angeles. So a lot of people from Sydney go to shul in Los Angeles, and I met them in LA at various synagogues. So it's Jewish geography is a very common game. It's like, oh, you know, so and so. So as soon as I name synagogues that I attend, people will then go, oh, do you know so and so, and it's fairly easy to establish your bona fides, but you do have to pre-register. You do have to um, show who you are, and you do also have to show proof of vaccination.
The conversion is just a certificate, or they might even call the rabbi in Los Angeles, but it's more formal that whatever rabbi you have in Los Angeles, he would vouch for you, and that would be the end of it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as soon as you know people in common, and
I mean, you know what you're doing. Obviously, if you walk into a synagogue, you go to Daf Yomi, even if your Hebrew is not that great, I mean, it's usually obvious. I don't know if you covered that case of that like Syrian guy who tricked the Lebanese guy who tricked being Jewish and then married, and they broke up the marriage. I'm not sure if you covered that story.
I don't think I covered it, but I certainly read about it. So someone who was not Jewish, probably a Christian, right, was passing as an Orthodox Jew along with his father for many years, right?
No, a Texas Muslim, and I don't think his father. I'm saying he went to he maybe even as a teenager decided he wanted to be Jewish, and when he got to university, he looked into conversion, and I guess determined just started telling people he's Jewish, and people believed him, so he's stuck with the lie.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I guess in Texas, he actually became like president of his Jewish club, and like relative to the Jews in Texas, he was he was a pretty good Jew, and they actually set him up to be married in Lakewood to a Syrian, and then it came out that like his identity that he wasn't Jewish. And there's a lot of like, because he's Lebanese, he's Arab, that why'd he lie? He's a traitor, he's a liar, a fake Jew. But there's a lot of people saying that they'll help him convert, and because at the end of the day, he learned how to be a Jew. They said he even read from the Torah, and sounded very serious about God and Hashem in relatively. So he lied about it, but it's saying like if you actually know how to be Jewish. It's a lot easier to have acceptance into the Jewish community. It's you could probably lie about it. You just go to synagogue if you know what you're doing, tell people you're Jewish. But even if you're a convert, it's usually like obvious. You either know what you're doing or you don't.
Right. So in since 9/11, there's been a lot more security at synagogues around the world, and particularly after the shootings in Pittsburgh and in Poway in California. So once you're in, though, you're in. So it's just a matter of establishing that you are who you say you are, and then it's good. So it's a new community. I'm meeting people, and then people I know people in Sydney, so they're contacting people on my behalf. So I've heard from rabbis who've contacted me out of the blue because they know someone in America who told them to reach out to me, and then I've been saying, oh, call this rabbi. And so I've been talking to a lot of people and talking about how plausible would it be for me to move to Sydney. And I'm just getting a feel for the Sydney Jewish community. There are about 35,000 Jews in Sydney, probably about 3,000 who are Shomer Shabbat, and 90% are not Shomer Shabbat. So there's not the intensity of Yiddishkeit that you can find in Los Angeles or New York.
Well, they have, they even have like Hasidim and Streimels and Chabad yeshivas, and so they have the full gamut of Orthodox Judaism there.
Yeah. So
are they more liberal, like LA, where even Orthodox Jews might see you as cool, or are they more conservative? They're like, okay, you're not going to be able to get away with that LA stuff anymore here, or is it pretty liberal there?
Well, I'm only just meeting people, so I've probably spoken to 24 Jews in Sydney. So I can't make any generalizations, but I'm sure that there'd be some very conservative types and some more liberal types. So I don't have overall enough of a comprehensive feel for the community, but so far I haven't encountered anything that would make me feel uncomfortable here.
Is it hard to be? I mean, your economic situation is hard to be poor there, or charitable, or is it cheaper living there?
It's not cheaper. It's very expensive to live here. It's one of the most expensive places in the world.
Even more than Beverly Hills?
Yeah. So I haven't looked into charity. I'm not looking for charity and don't expect to need that. But I will have to establish new ways of making a living. So many of the ways I made a living in LA are not going to immediately translate to Sydney. So it's I'll have to bring in six figures to keep my head above water in Sydney, while in LA I could get by on say 70,000 a year.
Is streaming? Have you thought about the streaming? Is it possible that you'll cut it off, or you're going to try to make the streaming work?
No, I'll still do some streaming, but it may be, I don't know, once a week, or I don't have any particular program. I'm just going to do it as it complements my life. So I've always tried to fit the streaming around my life rather than my life around my streaming. So it was always important to me that the things I was saying on stream were things that would be compatible for my wider life. So I don't contort my life to fit in with my live streaming. I adjust my live streaming to fit in with my life. And so go ahead.
I mean, like Ethan Ralph wants to interview about pornography. You might even pass on that.
Yeah, I'd have to find out more. So I'm not completely averse to talking about that industry, but it's certainly not a major focus for me. And so you haven't been going to shul? Is that what you were telling me? You haven't been going to shul much?
I haven't went to shul since I went on the high holidays. They had outdoor minyan. So the Young Israel actually in the summer canceled outdoor minyan because of the air conditioning. There just wasn't enough interest. I guess people were vaccinated and they felt safe, even though people were catching COVID. Indoors, even though people were fully vaccinated, there were still people catching it here and there. But they still went indoors just because they wanted air conditioning. And then when it came to high holidays, there was enough people that wanted outdoors that they did outdoors. So I was able to catch minyan over Sukkot and Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. And then after that, they just stopped outdoor minyan. So I haven't been to minyan since Sukkot.
And do you have any thoughts on fitting your life around your live streaming versus fitting your live streaming around your life? Have you noticed any repercussions from live streaming, either positively or negatively, in your real life?
No, not really. I mean, I'm not that much of a live streamer, and I'm not streaming that much local events. I used to put up videos, of local events and record it. But I'm not really speaking to people that know, like in the right or the that would be in the Metro Detroit area, and very few people, the people I've met, like actually watch my streams. So, I mean, definitely like talking to counter Semites would maybe raise an eyebrow. If people are doing it, might make them nervous. So I've been a little bit careful about that. But I guess with COVID-19 and not going anywhere, and my business is largely, eBay, managing a few properties that I've maybe went back to live streaming. So, maybe like a year ago, I was trying to, talk to, like I hadn't talked with Adam Green. I wasn't really debating counter Semites. But now that, COVID-19, there's not much going on. There's less for me to lose by doing it. I guess I'm doing it more. And like if you follow the numbers, Michigan had like 10% of all COVID cases are here in Michigan. It's really bad. And it's probably going to be like that for another few months. So I was actually thinking of stepping up my live streaming, maybe some other stuff. My chess streamings were a little bit more successful. I actually, ironically, was able to pivot to Israel and coaching chess in Israel to COVID, like, because I used to coach African Americans chess in Detroit, and because a lot of chess is actually more popular online, very popular gaming, and so I put up some good performances, and they recruited me as a coach on one of the big servers for Israelis, and so I thought, like, maybe I'd end up in Israel one day, and that I'd use coaching chess as like some sort of method as a breakthrough to meet people in Israel, and it's actually worked reasonably well. So now I'm in contact directly, regularly with tens of people, largely through chess, and I've been streaming internationally, not that often, but like streaming internationally, like gaming, I guess, but chess is the game that I'm streaming.
And about 6 months ago, I think you stopped using marijuana. How has that gone?
Pretty good. Like over Sukkot, I stopped in I think like July, and then I smoked a little bit over Sukkot, not a huge amount, but like maybe like 2 grams. I basically finished up everything that I had over Sukkot, which was less than 2 grams, which historically I would smoke like a gram a day. So now it's been definitely a few months, and hopefully I think I'm good. Probably the rest of my life. I don't really need it. Maybe if I start going back in public in nervous conditions, like there was reasons why I used it, but I think I'm a grown man. Whatever social malfunctions I had, or just nervousness is about social conditions or depression, like hopefully I've came up with other ways of dealing with it. So I feel good about I feel more healthy, definitely, like like a lingering cough or just like phlegm, like unpleasant things in my taste in my throat, that, like when I wake up, that those have largely disappeared, and more energy. I'm reading more, like the amount that I'm reading, the level of intellectual output I think I'm putting forward is increased. So thank God. Appreciate you encouraging me to kick the habit. Glad I did.
That's
hey, Dooovid, have you done mushrooms?
So many decades ago. They actually just legalized mushrooms in Detroit, psychedelic mushrooms. So now you could buy legally psychedelic mushrooms in Detroit, but I'm not planning on it.
And Elliott, what's your experience with mushrooms?
Well, I've done it 3 times, all microdose level. I've still not encountered the epic dose or the heroic dose, or what it's called, which is 5 grams. That's where you really trip. That's where you really hallucinate at a very high level and meet interdimensional beings and things. So I haven't done that yet, but my overall take on mushrooms is that they're quite positive. But it's weird to call them a drug, though, because they exist in a different category. They're not a drug in the way one would think about marijuana as being a drug. They're just plain different. They're like a mental vacation or a mental excursion that's not it doesn't feel like a drug, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. And what's been going on with Jen? Have you guys been participating in Week in Review?
Yeah, it's still going every week. Like it hasn't really picked up or went big, but we get still about 200 views. We were going longer, and it was kind of getting just kind of low tier arguments. So I cut it off now from like 6 to 8 hours to like 3 hours, or it used to go like 5+ hours, but people would come on, they'd be kind of unproductive conversations, and so we both love science, so it became a lot more technical stuff about science and math. I put the link in. Her debate partner right now is from Australia, so she's on Modern Day Debate, 235 viewers. She hit over 1,000 subs, but chose not to go monetize. But I'd say it's a pretty successful show. Like Elliott doesn't really show up. We developed mostly a new crowd. Like occasionally I'll see names that used to watch Luke Ford, like High Tea will pop in, but they're almost all new people. In fact, the other week, this Mansoor showed up, but it's a different Mansoor. So I was like, is that the old Mansoor from like Babs and Luke? But like, no, it's a different Mansoor. So, it's good to make a new network and to have a niche because, honestly, I like science and spirituality. And, I guess even though she's not Jewish, she kind of likes like Kabbalah, Jewish spiritual takes, which I guess you weren't really that big into. None of the Jewish streamers I streamed with, maybe Babs a little bit, were too much into like Kabbalah, Jewish spirituality, maybe like Adam Green, more conspiratorial. But, because, and we both kind of like Hinduism, so it's been pretty successful. She's not that nice. Like I think, we could get big and get interviews, but, I guess she's got like her, principles, and she kind of likes to call out falsehood as she sees it. And so it's very difficult to get guests because, she's not necessarily all that nice to them, as opposed to like Brittany on Politically Provoked, who, basically is willing to give softball interviews. So Jen is completely unwilling to give softball interviews. And because of that, we haven't really been that successful in, having too many guests.
And Elliott, how come you're not on the show anymore?
I simply just don't have time. Like that show airs when I'm completely winding down for the week, and I just don't have energy at that time of day. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get it. And
I'd rather listen, but more because I'm trying to limit my online engagement altogether and work on my other disciplines. It just the internet seems to be a venue for opinions, and strangely enough, I'm just not interested in opinions anymore. I think that there's other ways of knowing that aren't necessarily opinions. Like opinions seem to be rather cheap and dispensable.
You still pop on Claire Call. I think, Luke, a lot of your old people, like Brundlefly, just had an interview, like a Cranial for Claire's copy of Millennial. So she interviewed OV, and she interviewed Brundle the other day. And I think I see Elliott in the chat there occasionally.
Oh, I still listen, but I rarely participate in it. I rarely call in. I rarely participate. I mean, I'll chat here and there because that's my forte, shall we say.
You want something like conversational, like Luke, if you're producing something or like you're having a conversation, you're thinking towards an audience, as opposed to just kind of like Claire, who's just like streaming and you could pop on and have small talk chat with only like 10 viewers or something like that, and just catch up with some names. That it's important to have that because like you could Luke is on and you could be in the chat or say hi to the chat, but to actually have a stream where you could just pop on and have chit chat, small talk. Really, Claire's the only one left doing that, so she has a decent amount. I would even be surprised if like half of Claire's audience is made up of your old audience. I don't know if you agree with that, Elliott.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Claire's a very good conversationalist. Whether you agree with her or not, she's an excellent conversationalist.
And she also focused on like right-wing nationalism. I mean, before I forget, did you reach out to Dia Latina, Luke, if you wanted to in with like the right wing in Australia?
No, I haven't. I may at some point.
She might be. I mean, you might have another in, but she might be your in for like the alt-right of Australia. No, you had her on your show. I set that up, and she's young and she interviews even some actual politicians. I think even had members of parliament, but more like alt-right type Australian figures. And I think she's like anti-lockdown, anti-mask, maybe anti-vax. I'm not sure, but I follow her I see her on Twitter. She still seems pretty active.
Hey, Luke, do you mind if I change gears a little bit? Because I do have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Regarding a previous your previous life as a Seventh-day Adventist, because a certain event has occurred in my life that I'd like to discuss with you.
Yes, go.
So I have a friend who's a Christian Scientist who was raised in the Christian Science religion. And I realize that that's not Seventh-day Adventism, but they're sort of cousins in a certain way, because they're sort of these kind of eccentric Protestant denominations. Is that correct?
I believe, yes, they're both, from a mainstream Protestant perspective, they're both eccentric Protestant denominations, yeah.
Yeah. And I think they both started in New England, and I'm from New England. And so my friend of mine has recently, just a week ago, flown back to the East Coast because his mother is quite ill and aging, and she's refusing medical treatment because she's a Christian Scientist, and they, famously refuse any sort of modern medicine. And as a result of this, she's quite likely to die. She has a very severe infection, and she's just simply not allowing herself to be treated by medical doctors. And I was curious to know if Seventh-day Adventists have a similar attitude vis-a-vis modern medicine.
No, not at all. So there are a large number of doctors who are Seventh-day Adventists. There are a large number of hospitals that are Seventh-day Adventists. And so, I mean, even among Orthodox Jews, I've known Orthodox Jews who tried to go alternative when facing cancer. So there are surely, there will be some Seventh-day Adventists who are going to shy away from conventional medicine and try to go alternative, but I don't think it'd be any higher than the general population.
Okay. All right. And side note, the Ellen White, is that the founder of Seventh-day Adventist?
Yes.
So I used to work in the building. I used to work in a building that was the school in which Ellen White sort of had her revelatory experience and decided to form the Christian Science religion.
No, Ellen White didn't form Christian Science. Ellen White formed Seventh-day Adventism.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to say Seventh-day. Yes. So I just a certain side note there. Just but 155 Brackett Street, Portland, Maine, was the scene of her revelation.
Yeah. She had hundreds of them, and they always came after the church decided some particular issue, and then she'd get taken into a vision that God had confirmed whatever decision that the men had already made.
Interessant, my dude.
Yeah, it's one of the rare female-led religions, so the church is still like 70% female to this day.
Interesting.
The Hare Krishnas are pretty big there in Sydney also. I don't know if you've seen them, or COVID-19, or if you've, even with COVID-19, if you see them on the street.
No, I haven't seen any Hare Krishnas.
I think they're pretty big there.
Haven't seen any Hare Krishnas, haven't seen any rappers, haven't seen virtually no joggers. It's frighteningly homogeneous.
Do you find a lack of rap just... Do you feel a deficit?
Yeah, it signals like the low energy and the kind of the staid, placid culture we have here that really needs something to add vibrancy.
Diversity and multiculturalism. Yes. You're missing diversity and multiculturalism already, even though for years you advocated against it.
Yeah.
Do you think
I've been humbled.
Do you think you'd be able to live without it?
I don't know if I can live without rap. I don't know if I want to live without rappers. I mean, life without rappers is like, it's so drained of color and excitement.
I had a rap battle a few weeks ago with this Iraqi Muslim in London, and I actually wrote like a whole song about her, Zobida El Arabia. Pretty big viewership. You get like 50 to 100 live viewers. And I actually just wrote a rap for Church of Entropy I might do tomorrow on Week in Review.
Oh wow, what are you talking about in your rap, dude?
Um, Zobedia El Arabia, a little Muslim girl from Iraq with green eyes. Zobedia Arabia, not scared to get in your face and call out your lies. Zobedia Arabia, first time I met her, she called me a filthy liar. Zobedia Arabia, she not scared to tell you what you're doing is going to cause you hellfire.
Wow.
So this actually a popular speakers corner. This Muslim girl who's a streaming presence. I stream with her for like hours every day for a week, and she like hit me hard with these pretty tough questions on Judaism, and then we rapped and became friends. So like after a week of her just hitting me straight with these like pretty harsh counter-Semitic attacks, like we had a rap battle, and that like broke the broke the animosity.
So, Luke, are you going to discover the healing power of rap?
I think I'm starting to right now. I mean, this is awesome. Like here you have a Jew and a Muslim feeling great animosity, but through the healing power of rap, they were able to find common ground and connect as two human beings. I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, if you can kind of talk on beat and to a certain tone, it's not that difficult. It's just like writing poetry. All you have to do is think of a few ideas. Then you could search like a rhyming dictionary or online. So just take a word like I think I searched up. I was like invitation, intimidation, confrontation, education, and so you could just like make lines based on rhymes. Like Luke 4 beating off the horde. I think off my head. If you did rap regularly, you'd have rhymes memorized. But you could prepare them a little bit by just if I searched online like words that rhyme with Ford, and then I could probably put a few lyrics to that would sound intelligible and might make sense to people who know you, and would be like, oh, that's pretty clever. So if you're a rapper, you could do it on the spot and you have the rhymes memorized, but they're not that difficult to prepare. You could just like online, if you actually have God forbid, my roommate, the rapper I managed, the only book that he owned was a rhyming dictionary. Like literally, he only owned one book, and it was a rhyming dictionary.
Wow. And how has that gone? How long have you been managing this rapper?
Well, I mean, it's over 10 years. Like I'm friends with his daughter on Facebook, but I haven't spoken with him in years. But I was saying the rhyming dictionary was important. He used that. He needed that. And saying like he kept with him a rhyming dictionary. He didn't have that much of a formal education. He wasn't a big reader. But he kept a rhyming dictionary, and he'd make notes of rhymes. You could buy a rhyming dictionary. You could just search up online. For the exercise, I'll put up rhymes with Ford on. Okay, so just like from online rhyme pages. So you got Ford, chord, reward, sword, restored. So you can make up streaming with Luke Ford. He's always got the microphone cord ready to give you a big reward. But if you're mean to him, he'll cut you down with the sword. Even though his tech went out, he restarted it, and now his camera's restored. Something like that. But so if you know the basics of rapping, the key is the last word in the rhyming. So so if you find the words that rhyme, then you just have to think quickly about something that's sensical, that's going to end with the last word that rhymes.
Hey, Luke, do you think you could treat us to a little mini rap about your experience in Sydney?
Yeah, I don't think I'm ready for that yet, but I mean, I think Dooovid certainly pointed the path forward.
Yeah, board, chord, horde, lord.
And this would be a way to get some more status with the Sydney Jewish community. I'm sure they'd love some high quality rapping.
And the women, so okay, God forbid you're hitting those upper years, you want success with the younger women, like so like, oh, he's old, but he knows how to rap.
Yeah, that's a powerful point. Elliot, what are your rap skills like?
They're piss poor, Luke. I'm sorry, I just can't bring myself to do it. Like I've tried, and every time I do it, it just seems like I'm mocking and ironic, and I don't want to appear.
No. So
I can only do these. I can only rap in an ironic context. I'm still over. I can't
write rhymes, and you just don't know how to rap, or you could write rhymes.
Yeah, I mean, I could have. It just feels like arbitrary and nonsensical. It feels like I'm wasting my audience's time. I can't.
It sounds like you've got low self-esteem. Sounds like I'm hearing low self-esteem, Elliot.
Yeah, no. I mean, I always bury. I carry the burden of feeling the need to be sort of logically consistent or even poetic, but just rhyming my way out of a situation just seems to be a little.
I just looked online for what rhymes with Elliot. It's like, what's your problem, Elliot? You're way too delicate. You don't want to be celibate.
Well,
those were the first 3 words I saw rhymes with Elliot. Delicate, celibate.
Touche, Dooovid. Touche. You got me, bro. Now, I never understood rap. But the moment I heard rap in high school, or back then I think it was called hip hop, or it might have been rap. I'm not sure. I thought the society had collapsed.
Wow, that sounds racist, Elliot.
Well, it just sounds like a surrender to anti-intellectualism at like a profound level.
But you didn't have black friends. I mean, I was of the generation neighborhood that I had black friends. I liked the music and the common interest in music. You like sports to some extent, but music is a little bit stronger than maybe Luke. You could use like sports and football or basketball, but I think music is a little bit stronger in terms of social bonding than sports.
Yeah, never thought about it, but yeah, not a lot of rap going on in Sydney. So how do you like living in Detroit, Dooovid? Are you there for the long haul, or are you thinking about moving?
Yeah, I mean, I don't plan on moving at this point. I'm kind of established. Like I'm managing some properties. Really my only connection at this point is my family. Like I know some Jews. I could probably move if I had to, but with COVID-19, I don't see that changing. Like I think we're going to be in this situation at least another few years. So it would probably have to be something drastic that would cause me to move. Like I have a house. I mean, even if I sold the house, or I mean, my parents own it, but if they sold it and I had started with a bank load and moved back to New York, I could probably do it. But like I'm too comfortable. Like I have a house and a car and internet and like bills, and even though I don't have a family, that like if there was a really good option maybe for marriage or something, I might consider moving. But at this point I'm pretty locked in here in Detroit. It'd be too difficult to to move.
Hey Luke, I think I heard some Australian rap today in the car when I was driving. Do you mind if I recite it to you?
Please go ahead.
Okay. It goes like this. She was a fast machine. She kept her motor clean. She was the best damn woman I'd ever seen.
Isn't that AC/DC? You shook me all night long.
You got it, bro. It's an Aussie rap, is it not?
I guess.
But AC/DC was Australian?
Yes.
Yeah, they're Aussies. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Here's some more Australian rap. I know just how to whisper, and I know just how to cry. I know just where to find the answers, and I know just how to lie. I know just how to fake it, and I know just how to scheme. I know just when to face the truth, and then I know just when to dream. And I know just where to touch you, and I know just what to prove. I know when to pull you closer, and I know when to let you loose. And I know the night is fading, and I know the time's going to fly. And I'm never going to tell you everything I got to tell you, but I know I've got to give it a try. And I know the roads to riches, and I know the ways to fame. I know all the rules, and then I know how to break them. And I always know the name of the game. But I don't know how to leave you, and I'll never let you fall. And I don't know how you do it, making love out of nothing at all.
This sounds vaguely familiar, but I can't place it.
Supply.
There's a book.
I got one. Luke actually has decent beat. Like in terms of beat, you actually had pretty decent beat. Like you're not tone deaf. I mean, you could work on harmony a little bit, but like Luke, you could probably do karaoke, or even put on an album. You got the decent beat.
So look, here's one for you. Another AC/DC. For those about to rock, bang. We salute you. I mean, aren't those the best lyrics ever penned?
Have you been listening to The Bone?
I've been listening to The Bone. I've been listening to The Bone in San Francisco. Yes. Yeah.
I actually just sold that behind me. No, I have Back in Black. I just sold AC/DC, Those About to Rock, like last week. I still have Back in Black. Check out Dooovid on eBay. You could buy.
That was that tour. That was the very first concert I ever attended. First rock concert that I ever attended. It was the For Those About to Rock tour. which tale, like Back in Black was sort of their big breakout huge album. But For Those About to Rock was sort of this weird follow-on that didn't make any sense, but they just needed to ride the wave. So it never struck me how ridiculous those lyrics were until I hear it like 30 years later on the radio.
Were you a romantic, Luke? Would you write like poetry and love letters?
I've certainly written a lot of love letters, but I haven't, and I've written some poetry. But I noticed once I started studying calculus and studying economics, it had some kind of negative effect on my ability to write poetry. So it's been a while. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap things up. Any final words for today, Dooovid?
Yeah, good to hear from you. And if you start streaming again, you're happy to talk, especially if you want to start talking about Jewish life in Australia. Because I would assume my sister studied in Australia in university for I think 2 semesters. I knew a handful of Australians here and there, even here in my local Young Israel. There's a family that moved from Australia, but I would assume that the larger Jewish dynamics are similar. So if you want to start talking about that, always happy to talk about Judaism. I've been sending you those links. I'm not sure if you're laying low watching those. So I keep up because I watch those. So, it keeps me attached to Judaism. Have a lot of success. If you do stay in Sydney, hopefully, I think there's an expression in the Talmud, Shani Makom Shani Mazel, that if you change your place, you change your luck. So maybe changing your place will change your luck, and hopefully that means you find the right woman, build up a family, and maybe even have new streaming or financial success. So I'll leave you with that blessing.
Thank you so much, Dooovid. Elliott, any final words?
Just tune in tomorrow at the Coronial, 11 a.m. Pacific, and here Ka V Blatt should be lit, bro.
Okay, great. Blessings to you guys. All right, let's close it out with some Aussie tourism ads here.
There's nothing like it, is there? No. There's nothing like the sunrise, that first wave of the day.
The trip along the coastline.
It's right across the bay.
There's nothing like this ancient place.
The sunset from a camel.
This organism.
This beautiful. Oh, this dark-billed mammal.
Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da.
We've bought you a beer.
And we've had the camel shampooed. We've saved you a spot on the beach. And we've got the sharks out of the pool.
We got the roofs off the green.
And Bill's on his way down to open the front gate.
Your taxi's waiting.
And dinner's about to be served.
We've turned on the lights.
And we've been rehearsing for over 40,000 years.
So where the bloody hell are you?
America, you look like you need a holiday. A fair dinkum holiday. In the land of wonder. The land down under. Now, there's a few things I've got to warn you about. Firstly, you're going to get wet. Because the place is surrounded by water. Oh, and you're going to have to learn to say good day. Because every day's a good day in Australia.
G'day, Paul.
G'day, love. Of course, you'll have to get used to some of the local customs, like getting a suntan in a restaurant, playing football without a helmet, and calling everyone mate. Thanks, mate.
She's right, mate.
Apart from that, no worries. You'll have the time of your life in Australia. Of course, we talk the same language. Although you lot do have a funny accent. Oh, before you rush out to book your Aussie holiday, get the Aussie holiday book from your airline or travel agent. Come on, come and say good day. I'll slip an extra shrimp on the barbie for you. America's discovered.